Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What Pets Want podcast. I'm CJ Derby, and I'm here with Chloe Brunsma. Tonight, we're going to be talking about what questions to ask when you're thinking about boarding or hiring a pet sitter for your pet. And before I turn it over to Chloe, remember that we are here to give opinions. We are not here to give you veterinarian advice in place of veterinary care for your pet. And without further ado, let me give you to Chloe Brunsma. Hi, Chloe.
Hi, everybody. I am fighting through a cold, and the Bills game was very good yesterday, so I've lost my voice again. So bear with me as I go through. Um, Today, I figured talk about because we didn't get a lot of different pet sitting in our show last time because we ran out of time. But the different ways of pet sitting, there's in like I do in my home boarding for dogs. CJ will do, she does drop-ins and 24-hour stays and some other things that
Our state.
yes, I can't do that because I have daycare and the dogs come here. So me leaving my house is not something I can do on on a daily basis with all the dogs here. The so we'll go through the pros and cons and the different things that we are subjected to, but also protect you and your rights with what you guys should be asking and understanding about when you are hiring pet sitters. It is just as much as your responsibility as it is our responsibility to make sure everybody is safe. So, within my boarding in my house, the pros are they're not in crates all the time. I don't leave anywhere, so I work from home. So they have more social aspect with other dogs. So they're going to be more socialized. They're going to be not in crates all the time. And they're great for puppies. They have to go outside more often. They have to go to the bathroom more often. Same thing when it comes to older dogs with ailments or that have disabilities that need that continuous care. I am going to be here to take care of them. It also is a must for dogs with separation anxiety. They always have to have somebody there. So that's the pro for this. As far as the cons go for mine, because there's more dogs, they have to be dog friendly to each other. So also because they're with other dogs, they are more likely to get more like diseases like kennel cough, parasites, fleas, and stuff from other people's dogs, and because they're migrating in there. Um, so we want to keep that in mind that that potentially is an issue to deal with, especially with puppies. You're not supposed to bring in puppies that have not been fully vaccinated with other dogs until they're at least 16 weeks, or if they are adopted and recently are getting vaccines, they have to have at least 2 series of distemper before you subject them to other dogs. We have to remember about this. So that's the other thing. If you have a younger puppy that's under 16 weeks, there are specialty people or like CJ 24-hour stays where they stay in your house, or they can go to a pet sitter that doesn't have any other dogs, and therefore they can be watched that way so they can get let out and stuff like that. I also have heard that some breeders in the very beginning stages will take the puppies back if the new owners have to go anywhere. Um, that I don't find any problems with because mom's milk, they already have the antibodies, they already all have the same thing, but we just have to remember it's not 100% proof, but it's, it still helps with the socialization aspect of puppies. CJ, you look like you're going to talk something. I didn't
Oh
know if you're
no,
going to
I'm
ask
just listening.
questions.
Sorry.
Um,
Did I have
so
my mouth open? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something. It's okay. So keeping that in mind for you new puppy owners, we do have to be aware of that with other new dogs. Also, the other thing is if you have an older animal and they're more prone and it's scarier if they get sick. those dogs, depending on, if they've been well vaccinated for long enough, so we may have to be more concerned about that, depending if they have like pneumonia issues or something like that. But most of the time, you guys, like when you go, you guys are probably, your pets are going to be mainly healthy and, stable, so that it's not something to worry about. But these are just things for sitters to be aware of as well. The other thing is unaltered pets. So most boarding, unless you go to a kennel, a boarding facility where they can separate the dogs, yes, those unaltered animals, they're fine there. But when it comes to a home community like me, it is not a good idea to mix unaltered animals with spay and neutered animals. There can be some miscommunication. Also, if a female's in heat, you're going to have, whether they're neutered or not, they're still going to go and attract to those females. So, and when that happens, certain things medically can arise with the male dogs, and I've had experience with that, and some of them just can't handle having a spayed female on the premises at all. So we have to be aware about these particular dogs. So most at home places will not take unaltered pets for many different reasons, for the safety of that pet, but also especially with females that do not want to be mounted for any kind of male, whether they're neutered or not, will go up to them and try as they may. So that's not always a safe place for that female to be. But each dog is different. I understand that, but these are mainly the majority of the experiences that I've seen, or a lot of trainers have seen. So.
So Chloe, I just want to make sure that we're clear. So for your boarding and also daycare, you do not accept unaltered animals into your program.
Nope, nope, I do not, for that reason and for their safety. So yes.
Thank you.
Yes. One of the things as far as my business goes is I am fully insured. So therefore, with my insurance, I'm covered. Also, your pet is covered. My insurance only takes up to 10 dogs at a time. They do not, so if anything were to happen, I do have coverage if your dog gets hurt or sick. There is insurance with that. So when you go to pet sitter's house, ask them about insurance. It's important. You need to know what happens with your dog, what are the outcomes, or what scenarios can happen, so that you guys are both on the same page. There also usually is a waiver though involved as well with liability. So you will have a lot of pet sitters that will have, if anything does happen, that they're not at fault for it. That disclaimer, it depends on what state you're in, whether or not it works or not. But that's what insurance is for. So we pay insurance to cover that. But they still may have you still sign a form, but it is what it is, just for protection on both
If
sides.
somebody is interested in boarding or having their dog come to you for daycare, what's your intake process like? Do they come with their dog and basically you guys meet and you go over the program, or what does it look like? Can you share a little bit of light on that for us?
Yes, there's many different ways, and to each sitter, each their own, but being a trainer and a sitter, knowing behavior and the correct way to introduce dogs. So this is a big thing, is you do want to do meet and greets. You want to meet the dog and the people. So that there's different ways of meeting. Some are meeting at the sitter's house, which is what I do. But some places like Rover and these other ones, they tell you to meet the owner, and it's not always at their house or the place where the animal will be staying. I personally, as an owner, would not feel comfortable. I would want to check out the environment that they're in. As far as behavior, and the reason why Rover says to do this is because if you're introducing a dog to another dog, it's best to be on neutral territory. Understandable. I totally understand that. They do better outside than inside. A lot of dogs that are fearful, they don't like being in somebody's house they don't know because they don't know where to hide if they're scared. So they are more likely to be more fearful, which means potentially more bite cases and stuff like that. Totally agree with that as a trainer. I, because I still want the people to feel comfortable with where their dog was staying. Okay, I'm going to meet you halfway. How about we go to my house, my backyard? Your dog can sniff around, smell, let him off leash. I'm going to let him in the backyard first. He's going to spout everything out, smell everything out for about 10-15 minutes. This is where we do our introduction to me. We talk about what your pet's information is, any health issues, any anxiety issues, what to bring, whether your dog is crate trained or not. But this is where I usually have people ask questions, and I usually ask them as far as what I need as far as a sitter, what your dog's like. I don't, a lot of people that I've talked to, they want the person that's watching their dog to be more interactive with their dog, like pay more attention to them. As a behaviorist, as a trainer, that can cause some issues. You going one-on-one with a dog and getting more wanting to them to get personal with you can cause more anxiety with that pet. I tend to talk to the owner a little bit more, let the dog do what they want to do. I have treats on me. If they come over and sniff me, I give them a treat. That's fine. But that's
Yeah.
all the interaction that I need for that dog to feel safe. So I just want to put it
Right.
out there for a lot of owners. I've heard, well, the sitter didn't really go up and talk to the dog. That sitter, uh, and as a behaviorist and a trainer, that's not recommended. Like that actually makes it worse for that pet. So let the pet make that decision. Don't
Right.
don't the sitters have do that because it actually makes it threatening. And then the dog starts to drool and starts to back off and gets fearful. That's not what I want. So I hope everybody understands as far as my behavior, why I do that and why that technically is the best way to do it. Not get all in their face and do it because
Right.
huskies do that to little dogs all the time, and the dogs back around, they get really nervous. So
Right.
I almost is like that's a bad interaction right there. So
I get a lot of compliments from people when I come to their house for a meet and greet because I don't come in and automatically, flock to the animals. I kind of let them lead the way, how much they're comfortable interacting with me too. I'm not in there to force it. I'm respecting their space. And I wish more sitters were doing that
yeah,
because it can cause a fear bite if you're forcing yourself on some animal that doesn't know you. It can cause a lot of anxiety they just don't need. So I'm
yeah,
I'm glad you talked about that.
yeah. The first impressions are important, not only to the owner but to the dog, and it's mainly the dog's decision. It's not the owner that we're sitting. It's the pet. So you guys, you know your animal's best, but also your pet is going to act totally different around me compared to you. So the other thing,
Yeah.
I had a sitting or a meet and greet today, and the owner brought their dog over there, and I met him at the animal hospital many years ago when I worked there. So I knew of the dog, but never watched it before. And so all of a sudden, I brought out Paris, which is my greeter dog, and the dog started drooling. He was fine before, but then started drooling. And she goes, "Oh my God, he's never done that. Why is he doing that?" I go, "He's anxious because I brought my dog out." And she goes, "He's never been scared of other dogs." And I go, as a trainer, and this is my job, is he actually is. He just was telling you in ways where he was hiding it. And you just didn't know. Now, because he's getting older, he's starting to do different behaviors because of his anxiety. He goes, he has a bit of an anxiety with other dogs. And
Yeah.
um, so I tell her, I go, "This is why I like to do meet and greets. You get to learn a little bit something. But also being that said, now that I know that dog has a little bit of anxiety there, ding, 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 what comes to mind? Should this dog be staying here? Should this dog, this is where we start then have that conversation. What's best for the dog? Paris, my greeter, she is trained not to be in the dog's face. I simply put kibble. She was dealing with the kibble, and the dog would go in and out of that interaction. It was on the dog side. She did not go up to that dog right in the middle and just be involved. I gave her something to do so that dog could have its time to kind of marinate in. And he did. Over time, he would go over there and sniff her and then back up, but she knows just to leave the dog alone. So as far as that comfortable with the client, I'm talking her through some of what the dog's behavior is. And she felt comfortable with my suggestions as we started to talk about his stay. Then I started saying, well, most of the dogs that come here, first of all, I can't have more than 10 dogs. You put that on the line. How many dogs you have here? Since now I know my dog is a little about other dogs. Let's talk about this. So I have 10 dogs, but the dogs that I take care all have anxiety disorders, just like how we're seeing with your dog. They're on medication, but they all, through daycare, know how to interact accordingly and appropriately with other dogs. So this is where daycare comes into play. When you bring a dog that's like him, and then you throw him in the mix with a bunch of puppies, that is not going to be a great situation for him. And that is where when you go to sitters' houses and then they're not behavioralists and they don't understand this. In that kind of setting, for somebody that does not have animal experience, and you throw your dog in and there's a bunch of young dogs, older dogs, and they're not the same mentality as their
Right.
mindset, that is a bad stay. So that would, but after talking to her and telling her the dogs that stay here, they're all like they're all relaxed. There's no barking at my house. There's no, like, we do calming games. We're not letting them just run around and go all over the place. So talking to her about that, talking about the setup, she felt comfortable knowing that with as many dogs as I might have, that I know what's best for him. I'm talking to her about it. The other thing he was doing is marking everything. So a lot of pet owners do not know their dog marks because they don't do it until they go to somebody else's house that has dogs. That is a big
Right.
thing. And when their dog does that behavior in front of them, first of all, they get embarrassed. And oh my God, he's never done that before. And I'm like, it's
It,
okay.
it's normal. It's a normal behavior response.
Well, so this is the thing. Is it or is it not normal? And this is where I come into play. We start getting into it and she says he guards his food and he has some
Okay.
guarding behavior. So that lifting of the leg, that's territorial. So it's guarding. He has an anxiety issue. So he's worried about losing resources, losing his things, or somebody taking it. So this is why he's a marker, is he's worried about other dogs. Again, he growled or he started drooling when my dog came in, and he's a
Oh,
marker.
there you go. So it's adding
So
up. The
it is.
drooling, the marking.
I am seeing he's social anxiety. He's got some social anxiety, but so talking to this and going, and she learned so much about her dog she did not know, and she goes, Jesus, and I go, yes. But these little meet and greets, as a behavioralist and a trainer and also a vet tech, I'm taking in the whole picture here, and painting a picture for the owner, about first of all the guidelines I'm going to have to do for this pet to keep him safe because he is a garter. Well, I'm not going to feed him in front of 50 million dogs. I'm not going to feed him with a bunch of dogs. That's unsafe. So we will be using a separate room to feed him in so he feels safe enough to eat. So there will be no guarding of food or anything of that nature. When I'm spreading the food out in the yard, he doesn't seem to be guarding my dog as far as going after her and saying, that's my food. So I know I could still put food and hide it in the yard without a problem, more than likely, as long as everybody's got their share. Now, as far
Yeah.
as the house goes, because he's marking all the time, I'm going to assume he's going to do it in my house too. So this is where I tell the owner, well, I am also going to probably be using a belly band for him. People, you wouldn't believe how many people get offended about it. And they're like, if you just take my dog off outside every 2 hours, he won't do it. I don't know. That's not how marking works.
It has
There,
nothing to do with having to urinate. It's a
it,
behavior. It's marking.
yes, it is marking. So to make everybody happy for me, because I got new couches, He's getting a belly band. Easy fix. I don't have to worry about it. Your dog doesn't love it, but eventually over time, when they find out that they're not doing anything with a belly band and the scent's staying on them, they do eventually will stop doing it,
Yeah.
which is good.
So,
But that can be a behavior of, the marking can be a behavior of guarding. And that right there tells me that he does have some kind of anxiety. The other thing is if your dog does mark, it also can be a kept behavior because they were neutered too late. So if they've been marking because they're peeing on stuff and as a puppy, and then after 3 months, a behavior usually sticks. That behavior, if after you get them neutered, doesn't necessarily mean that's going away. It could
yeah.
stay. So,
How long? So I know we went over your intake process. How long of the meeting is it? Like, I
oh,
know my meet and greets usually last about 90 minutes. How long do yours typically last?
typically that long because I think I'm more experienced and see what I'm looking for right off in the first 5 minutes of the dog being there. I can kind of figure out their mentality and bring Paris out, my greeter dog. I get information about how the dog is going to react to their stay when they're. So technically, if I see behavioral problems, anywhere from 30 minutes to a little bit more, but if I don't see any behavioral issues and the dog's younger and likes other dogs and I can tell they're going to have a great time, sometimes only 15 minutes.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
it just depends. I don't charge for them because they are coming to my house. It's their gas. If I was going to their house, then yes, that would be a bit for a
Yeah.
different thing. But for me, because it's their time, my time, and I can usually figure the pets out and stuff like that. I've been doing this for so long, and I'm a vet tech. I kind of know what exact questions to ask in the right
Yeah.
way so that I get the correct answer. So my meet and greets are not, a big deal, and I tend to do more of the talking than the owner does. But I do ask questions that I need to do my job properly. I would say, as far as if I'm looking for a sitter, as who I am, which I probably would know more than the sitter that I'd be dropping them off to.
Right.
My best question is, like as far as interviews go, is like, how do you I love it when you go to my first interview with being a vet tech is the famous one. How did you know you want to do this job? And of course, everybody's animals. I love animals, right? It is the worst answer to that question, first of all, because that's what everybody would say. So my answer is if you ask that question and talk about pet experience, get that person to tell you some stories. If you love pets, you have hundreds of fun stories
Right.
to talk
Yeah.
about with dogs. And I tell all about different stories for different things because I have so much experiences with different funny situations. Like, like the dog goes and, the lady today, I can't believe, he's peeing, had a dog go and pee on another dog in front of the owner. And I go, that happens all the time. I took a picture and it was on Facebook and the owner saw it. She thought it was hilarious that her dog and the picture was peeing on another dog's head from the tunnel. And I'm like, yeah, and you just wanted them to feel okay about their dog's behavior, trying to, slow stuff. But those experiences, those funny experiences tell you a lot that first of all, your sitter's watching your dog. but they,
Right.
but that it's okay. They're trying to make the situation comfortable. You're not going to hear that from people that are just kids from college. They don't have funny
Right.
stories like that. They don't have any experiences. So, that's so funny. What's the funniest story you've had about pets? About setting a pet or something like that.
And
That's
I
how you're
think
gonna
there's, especially this time of year, people are looking to make extra Christmas money or whatever.
find.
So you get a lot of fly by night people that want to be professional pet sitters, but they're not really experienced,
Mhm.
and they're just sort of throwing an ad up on Facebook or Craigslist or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't really have the experience. So it's really important, whether you're looking at taking your dog to a boarding or daycare, or someone coming to your home, that you do ask these questions, that you want to know, well, somebody can say they're experienced, but how are they experienced?
Yeah. No,
So,
you're right. So that I like to hear funny stories. I want to make sure I feel comfortable with the thing. The other thing is CPR. Do they have CPR experience? What do they do in case of an emergency? I get that as a technician still all the time because I have dogs here. Luckily, I have friends in the neighborhood who say if I gotta go somewhere because of emergency, I can call somebody, stay here while I go over there. Luckily, knock on wood, that's never happened. But I'm also a vet tech. I know how to stabilize a dog to get them to where they gotta be. Um, but I do have that thought process in there. So those are good questions to ask. Um, so those are the things that I would talk about, learn about. Also, like you said, be honest, about your dog if there is any issues, but also pet sitters. Be honest to your owners. I know the one thing that especially Rover and all those dudes and the people say, "How's my dog doing?" Your dog's doing fine. First of all, the word "fine" does not mean fine. Fine is probably the worst thing, other than okay. Okay and fine are pretty much the same thing. I tell my own the people that come over, if somebody's saying they're fine, they're not fine.
right.
I want to hear good. I even want to say they're having trouble in this. I'm going to be honest with them, but I tell them so that they are aware and they know. As an owner, don't feel like, oh my God, my dog's doing bad or whatever. If I'm telling you, I'm also going to give you suggestions or I'm going to help
Yeah,
make that dog
same.
feel better.
I
So,
always tell people at the meet and greet, you're going to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly from me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't hold things back. I don't candy coat. Um,
yeah,
I think fine and just say fine and okay or all right. I think those are cop outs. I don't think that somebody's fully doing their job if you say, "Hey, how's the dog doing? He's been running a fever. How is he today?" "Oh, he's fine." No, they need more than that.
yeah, yeah. So don't be discouraged. Just tell them what's really going on. They're gonna, most of them respect you more as an owner. The only time I have truly had people come back to pick up their dogs even after a few minutes of the stay is if they're lunging, they're trying to outright bite me. And that person has not given me any, and I ask if they need medications or anything. That if there's nothing I can do this dog at all, I'm going to tell them to come back and get their dog. It's not safe for me.
Right,
It's not safe for my dogs. Yes, they are a bit mad. I get that, but I'm looking out for your dog, not your vacation. I'm sorry, but I
right,
need to take
and
care of emotionally of my emotions, the dog's
right.
emotions, but also the it's my job for everybody to be safe as others. And I know it's a horrible thing, but this is why I also tell my clients if I see that at the meet and greet, we need a backup plan for if something doesn't work out. I have no problem asking them.
And when I go on a meet and greet, I do ask people, "Does your dog have a bite history?" I do ask. There are a lot of sitters or boarding facilities that will not take an animal that has bitten previously. I am one of few that will still go into a home knowing that a dog has bitten. But I let them know that I'm a very slow mover. I'm very methodical in my process, and I'll do my very best. Now, if the dog does end up biting me, I'm probably not going to watch the dog again. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
but
And then this is where, that's why, I'm on our sitters group for a thing, but you have a resource to tell these people, I know somebody that may be
right,
able to help. They're not like, I never, if I say no to a meet and greet that it's not going to work out, I always say, let's try this and see if we get anywhere. I give them things to help. It's up to them
yeah,
whether that owner is going to do it or not,
right.
but
And
at least
that's
it's not a flat out.
and I do well, and that's the thing that um I always recommend you for things. And I look at every person, even at a first meet and greet, like they've already been an established client. I treat everybody with the same level of respect I would as if they've been with me for years or not. And if it's not a good fit, I don't have a problem explaining why, but I offer suggestions, and in a case of a trainer or a behaviorist, you're my number one go-to for that. Um, and I think, that speaks volumes about us as business owners, Chloe, that, we are willing to share business because we feel like for the benefit of the animal, for that particular animal, I may not be the right sitter. They may need somebody like you that can manage more specifically some of these behaviors that this animal has, you know. And as far as like with you, not taking, having someone come back and pick up a dog that's lunging and threatening to bite, you absolutely have to do that in your situation because you're not responsible just for one dog. You're responsible for other clients as well. And if you get mauled, that's not good. You know what I mean?
Well, or if
So
the pet or that dog goes after another dog, it's a liability issue, and it's my job as a
I
sitter to be able to understand. I need to make sure everybody's safe. So that is fourth and
the
number
other
one.
the other thing too that you said, and I think this is good because for me it's always a red flag, is that you have your meet and greet or intake right at your facility, at your home. You're not telling people, yeah, I'm going to meet you halfway. You've never been to my house. You don't see the conditions that animals are kept in, but you can call, I'll board. Oh, yeah, no, I'll come pick it up. You know what I mean? And I actually have some clients that live further out. I don't typically board in my home, but I do have um, a Dane that is actually related to Danes that I have. And they live far enough away. So they actually haven't been to the house. But in most cases, yeah, you want somebody that isn't afraid to have you come to their house and show you where you are. You know what I mean? Whereas with Rover, encouraging the public meet and greets, I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to trash Rover, y'all. That's not what I'm saying. But I just feel like their business model is very different than like what you and I do. I think one of the reasons that you and I get along so well is that we are running this like a business with the focus being on the animals that we are caring for. And that's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
We're not doing this as fly by night people to make a little bit of extra coin. We're doing this because we love animals. We want to provide the best services. Sometimes the services that I offer may not meet the needs of that particular animal. And you have to be comfortable enough in your own skin to say to a potential client, you know what, I don't think this works out, but here's some suggestions. And I think it's good. I wish more people were like that
Yeah.
because
Well,
there's not enough
yeah.
of I mean, we're blessed. Let's face it, we're blessed because we're in the Rochester Pet Sitters group, and we have built some lifelong friendships in that group, and we're like-minded people with animals. Just and we're really blessed to have a network. You and I joined the group. I met you in the group, and I consider you a good friend now. And I am so blessed to have you as a resource of somebody I can trust and send people to. It's really amazing, and I thank you. I know I say it all the time, but truly, it's awesome.
Yeah, but
You're awesome.
you don't find trainers that just give information or whatever. But I'm an educator first and foremost because that's what I went into being a vet tech for. I wanted to
Yeah.
make a difference, and now that I'm out of it, now I'm doing mental health. I'm still making a difference, but these dogs that come over my house, I'm not doing it necessarily for the money, maybe a little bit, but I'm learning. Like they're
Right.
teaching me, like they're my resource. So I get to really figure out problems and stuff because I'm a problem solver. That is just what I like to do. So I feel all these experiences that I have, this is why I want the podcast. I want people to know. I want to educate people on different questions and things. So, when you do these meet and greets, if I as an owner would want to be somewhere on the vicinity, I would want to look and see if the yard is up, kept, maintained, and has
Right.
dog stuff in it, like things for them to do, that tells me they're not just in it for the money, that they actually want
Right.
this
They've
dog to
invested.
feel safe.
They've
But
invested in some
yes,
enrichment, you know.
yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're not just doing it for the money. I've gone these rover places and stuff like that, and it's just an empty backyard with a pool or something, and it's dirt and stuff like that. And I've heard some horror stories, let me tell you, about, them just stacking them up in garage, and it's just awful. But if I don't allow people in my yard, especially or in my house after COVID, but it was a COVID thing, but now it's turned into a liability thing where if
Right.
I have other people's dogs in my house, you can't meet them because if liability, if they bite you, or because a lot of these dogs, they are scared of people, they're scared of men in particular.
Yeah.
I can't subject them to that, and I don't want you to get hurt. So the backyard's best, but usually, like I said, my backyard's famous. Like it's Cedar Point for a dog back there. They have everything they want. It is a beautiful backyard. So more than likely, if my backyard is beautiful, my house is going to be somewhat in the same manner. It's going
Right.
to look nice and be upkeep as well. So that's what I have to say to everybody. If you're not allowed in the owner's home, look at the backyard, see how the house is. If it's tidied up and well maintained and they got some fun stuff for the dogs to do, I'm usually okay with that. So that's another thing as far as when you're doing meet and greets, making sure of that, because a lot of the people that I've heard horror stories from is they're hearing dogs in the garage while they're doing meet and greets. Like they hear like 10 dogs and they're screaming in the garage, and then there's
Yeah.
stuff everywhere. And I've heard of those, and those people are just doing it for the money. And if you're hearing dogs, like I can't say dogs screaming because my Boston screams when I do meet and greets because he doesn't want to miss out on the fun. And that's why, as a behaviorist, that's why I know why he's doing it. But he screams, like, ah, and the lady's like, and he goes, who is that? I go, that's my dog Archie. He's looking out the window and screaming because he wants to come out and meet, the
Right.
dog and stuff. Yeah, but he's I can't have a conversation with the owner with my dog like running all over. So that's why I don't have my dogs come out first. I let the dogs kind of marinate in the backyard, and then I will let the Paris the greeter, because she is mild. I still have a conversation with them, but she's very slow moving versus my Boston, who wants to touch the person and be all over them, and it's like a crazy. And you're like, oh my gosh, my dog's like all over you, and I can't have a conversation.
Yeah.
So there's reasons to my madness, but just kind of see how you feel. If you feel comfortable, that's what you want. As far as the forms and liability issues go, I have, they have to have a release form for photos. So that
Yeah, I
we
do
have
too.
people, if you're not signing a release form, you're not getting pictures. That's probably why, but I'm also awful at taking pictures because I have so many dogs I'm taking care of. I don't have time to do daycare, take pictures. So if I do, I put them on my Facebook so that they can see what we did for the day. But I am the worst by far to send everybody personal photographs. I tell my clients that I go, I'm the worst because I just have
I
between the training, the daycare, the boarding, the podcast. It's
You
a
definitely have
lot.
your hands full. Me, on the other
So
hand, I've been told that I take too many pictures. I send too many photos. But it's very different because I'm doing one-on-one or one on however many pets somebody has in their home. So it is different.
yeah. So that's my business standing. Those are some of the things that I go. But definitely, those are some good key points I touched on for people as far as what things to say. And also, be in mind, like we're trying to help you. And if we notice things and we tell you about their dog, don't get mad or discouraged. If they're a good sitter, they're going to have maybe different ways to help. The other thing is I'm going to point it out, or with dogs that have anxiety, do not do well with these one and done vacations. They do not, and this goes for going into people's houses as well. If your pet's only going to have this once a year for a week, and that's the only time you're doing it, you're gonna have they're going to tell you some things you're not about your dog that you didn't notice, or they're going to be,
Right.
it's going to be different versus with mine. The dogs that come to stay here also come to daycare, require them to come once or twice a month for 4 hours, just so that they come here and it's like they're not always staying, so that they understand, they know the animals because all the same animals come here. But it's like, what's one more? It's like a bag of chips, but they're used to
Yeah.
being here. And so the process of them staying is not as stressful as just once a week and done. So that is why I do mine. After I've done this for years, I have found daycare, even with these older dogs growing up, they just come once in a while just to meet everybody, to stay in the mix so that they don't forget what it's like, because it does get harder as they get older. But this is my shenanigans, my 2 point. We'll let CJ go because she's got a totally different way of sitting, and but we pretty much have the same things as far as legal things go. But as far as she stays at, the houses or the drop-ins, those the 24-hour stays are similar to mine, and those are good for dogs that don't do well with other dogs. That's what I recommend highly for that, for the 24 stays, or for those dogs that have, separation anxiety, that can't be left alone. She can go there. She doesn't have to bring other dogs. And I'm just putting it out there, but you should be paying these people more for that, because that is a lot for them. And it's just one or a few dogs compared to me taking in dogs. I make a little bit more money. So as far as how to charge, or what your expectations for pay, they should be a little bit more money because of that particular reason. But your dog is worth it, right? For most people anyway. But yes, this is what
Yeah.
that is. But she'll have different ways. And then the drop-ins, younger dogs, or as long as they're not puppies or out of puppyhood and whatever, and your dog doesn't have any mental or medical attention, or has any disabilities, that can happen. But please do not do drop-ins longer than a long weekend, or for just 2 times a day. They will get
Yeah.
bladder infections. They will get kidney infections. This is not healthy for your dog. So people keep that in mind, because there are some people that say, oh, they just want to drop in once a day for their dog. For that legally is neglect. And no, that is not something a
Right.
sitter should be
I
even saying to do.
I absolutely refuse to take a client on that only wants one drop in a day. Um, and it is for that reason. It is neglect. I tell people, it's a minimum of two drop-ins. If it's puppies need more. It's just it blows my mind. It gets into too, being honest. You have to be honest with the potential pet sitter that's coming to your home. Don't leave out animals. Forget to tell the sitter that you have 67 chickens. I did that over the summer. I went to a place and they told me they had two dogs, and four horses and two cats. I rolled up. They didn't tell me they had 67 chickens. They didn't tell me that they had pheasants. They didn't tell me they had goats. They didn't tell me that they had, I think, three alpacas. So I realized that people are thinking, oh, they're going to charge me a lot if they know about all these animals. But you have to understand, when you hire someone to come and stay at your home and care for your animals, legally, they have to care for every animal on your property. You can't pick and choose, well, who's going to get, food and water? Well, we're going to set up a bunch of food and a bunch of water. You don't have to do anything. If you're hiring somebody that's not going to check on every single living, breathing creature you have, that's not the right person. And shame on them for doing that.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
for me, pet sitting is different. I don't do boarding. I do in your home sitting. And for me, I did that because I had a dog that did not do well in boarding situations. She would become just a complete wreck. She didn't want to eat. She'd get sick from stress and anxiety. And for her, I didn't take vacations because for her it was horrible at the facility. It just didn't work for her. And so there's some animals that, like you said, behaviorally, they're just not a good fit in daycare or a boarding facility. So that's where I come in. And my goal, I set up a meet and greet. My meet and greets usually last about 90 minutes because I come in, I sit down, I talk to you about your pets. We go over, I show you my insurance card, I give you a copy of that, I give you a copy of my references. I talk about having experience in first aid, and I have experience with meds, doing subcutaneous fluids, giving injections for if they have diabetes, insulin injections, and that sort of thing. And the idea of our meet and greet, which I do charge for, it's $50, depending on if somebody's quite a ways away, then I may charge $75 for the meet and greet. But it gives me an opportunity to come in and observe your animals in your home. I'm not going to be the sitter who's going to rush straight in and grab your dog and start hugging it. The first thing people notice is that I'll come and I'll sit somewhere and I'll let the animals come to me. I don't force myself on any animals because I think, especially with animals in their own environment, you're coming into their space and you really have to be respectful of that. So, the other thing too that I think, is important is I'm not you, but I try to mirror the care that your animals are used to as best as possible. So if your dog is used to sleeping with you at night, I will let your dog sleep with me at night. If that is something that your dog desires to do, I am okay with that. I will do that. Whatever your pet is used to is what I do. Um, the other thing, when you're interviewing somebody, you want to make sure that they're insured. Like Chloe mentioned, insurance. Insurance for traveling pet sitters is a little bit different than boarding and daycare, but they should have an insurance card and be able to tell you, show that that's in good order. Um, it's going to cover accidents that may happen with your pets. Your homeowner's insurance is not covering your pet sitter. Very important. A lot of people think, well, it doesn't matter if they're insured because I have homeowner's insurance. Doesn't matter. The person that you're hiring to care for your farm or your pets should have insurance. It protects the sitter, it protects you, the client, and it protects your pets in case of an accident, injury, or if something gets damaged. That is why pet sitters and farm sitters carry insurance. It
And this
is
is
not your
also, yeah, and this is also for drop-ins. So even if they don't stay at
same
your
thing
house,
for right. Yes,
same
thank
thing.
you.
Yes, because if your house gets robbed under their care, they're responsible. Homeowners insurance won't cover that. So again,
And
you
that
hire these rovers and these teens, you got to be aware of what is being covered here.
and that's a great way to lead into something, another document that I require that Chloe probably doesn't need in her realm is key release, key and code, security code release. So some clients will provide a key to enter and exit their property. Some clients will provide a garage door opener to enter and exit their property. Some will give me a passcode. I have some that have even added me on an app so that when I get to their house, I press a button on my phone, I enter a 4-digit code, and the door opens. Um, all of these, no matter what, whether it's a key release or a security code release, door opener release, it is very, very important that your sitter has that release and has you sign it. If a sitter should lose your house key, they're responsible. So you're going to be getting new locks, and that's on the sitter because they lost your key. So keep that in mind. This is why your fly by night people that are just getting into this just to make some quick cash are probably not the best options for your pet. The other thing, when you're interviewing a potential pet sitter, you want to ask them, what are your experiences? What type of animals have you worked with? Please tell me some stories that you can share about some of your clients. Communication is big. If you have a sitter, you hire a sitter, and you check in on your pet, and their response to you is, oh, yeah, they're doing okay or they're fine. You need more than that. That's unacceptable. I'm not saying you need a play-by-play of every potty, every poop and pee. I'm not saying you need that, but you definitely need good communication. And so going back to the meet and greet, interviewing and talking with each other at these meet and greets, it's a great way for you to get to know this person who is probably a stranger before this meet and greet that is going to come into your home and care for your beloved animals.
Also, in this day and age, there's cameras now. Another
Oh,
liability thing or it
there
is.
you
So
go. The
you might
camera.
not, yeah, you may not be asking how you're doing because you're watching them. But I know how it is when you're watching them in your own home and you're like, they're not doing this right and they're not doing that. Okay, I get that. And that makes us feel bad and because we want to try our best, but we're not you. So first of all, just keep that in mind. But with cameras, again, New York State, you're allowed to have cameras anywhere. I researched this anywhere, even the bathroom and your bedroom.
Right.
But so New York State, technically, you don't have to tell anybody unless you're recording. Then you gotta get them to sign something. So that is also a thing with pet sitters for your security. Make sure you ask about cameras. Are you recording? If you are, then you have to
Yeah.
have documentation
And
saying that you're aware and it's okay for you to record. So in New
and
York State,
and,
that is what you have to do.
and y'all, I am not asking you if you're recording me because I'm worried I'm going to hurt your pet. I'm asking you because I'm a big girl and sometimes I forget my towel, and y'all don't need to see me running buck naked across your house to go
Don't
get
need to
stuff
give you
out of my suitcase.
nightmares. Yeah.
So, again, it like Chloe said, um, don't be alarmed. Don't, if a pet sitter says, do you have cameras? Will I be recorded? It's a fair question. Okay. Um, Other questions that you want to ask a pet sitter, and this one kind of seems redundant or whatever, but what do you like about being a pet sitter? What do you like about being a farm sitter? If their first response is, oh, well, it's some quick cash for me. Wrong answer. Throw them out of your house. Sorry, I'm getting silly, but really, you want somebody that says more than I like animals too. You want somebody that says, I enjoy working with animals. I like learning. Every animal is different. They're all like snowflakes. No two are alike. I like learning about their behaviors. I like seeing what makes them tick. I like spending time with them. Um, I enjoy the companionship, whatever it is. Be honest about your pet too. If your dog has a bite history, tell your sitter. Some sitters will say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable. Others like me will say, I have a lot of patience. I have taken training with Chloe in certain things. And, like I said, I have a ton of patience. I'm methodical in my approach. Um, but I might say to you, can we meet out in public a couple of times at a park or something, outside the home, just to see how they respond to me? And, I'm very honest. I will work with you, not to pay like the full charge of the meet and greets when we have to do a couple of backups. I'm doing that, number one, for your pet, but also for my safety as well. Um, let me
What
see, what
kind
else?
of just like for drop-ins, they're half an hour per drop-in usually. That's
So my
time.
drop-ins are typically longer than 30 minutes. I am usually there about an hour, maybe longer. I don't watch the clock, people. Um, I will say you usually are going to get more time than less time with me. Whereas Rover, I'm picking on Rover a lot tonight. We'll just say a couple of other people out there, other things. They typically have drop-ins like 15 minutes. And literally, it's 15 minutes. They run in, they grab a leash. Hello, hello, Fido. Walk your dog. Okay, bring it back in. Send you a picture. Fido peed, Fido pooped, and out they go. To me, that is not long enough. That's not fair. That is not a fair amount of time for an animal. It needs a little longer than that. You know, for other people, that 30-minute time frame, maybe the dog, older dog, he's like, yeah, I just got to go do my business and then I'm coming back in. Maybe 30 minutes is fine, but for me personally, I like to be there longer.
Well, dogs are
So,
social creatures, so they do require some socialization from people
yeah.
or something. So
Um,
that's why drop-ins. I don't necessarily love the idea because mainly the dog's home alone more. But but yeah, some people like it. So
so we talked about pet insurance a little bit. For me, some sitters are bonded, some organizations are bonded against theft and liability. I'll be honest with you, my fingerprints, because my previous career as a teacher, my fingerprints are on the state. I have no criminal record. So basically, I'm a unique situation. Um, there are sitters out there that have paid to be bonded. So if that's something that you specifically need, they are out there. You want to be hesitant of the people that have no insurance, that are just hobby sitters, that are doing it for some quick cash. Okay. Um, Let me see. What else did I want to talk
I
about?
think I think we talked about a lot of different key
I
points,
feel
at
like
least
we did
for
too.
yeah, we're open to give everybody information so that knowledge is power. So you can
Okay.
know what to ask for and how to communicate with people the fair way. And people's expectations are on the same wavelength so that you kind of understand what we go through, what we have to worry about.
Yeah.
But yes, everything we talked a little bit about everything, and which is good. And I'm hoping everybody kind of
Um,
knows how to take what
it,
questions and stuff, what to ask
Yeah,
now.
so the only other thing, I want to say, guys, is when you do have your meet and greet with your pet sitter that's coming to your home, make sure that the two of you have clear expectations of what you're expecting and what they're expecting. So that's the only
Yeah,
other thing that I want to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
And as always, anything that we've talked about tonight does not take the place of a veterinarian. These are solely our opinions, but we want to thank you guys for your support. Both of us were sick last week,
Yeah,
so I'm
that's
sorry you missed
recovering.
us. Um, but
Yeah,
we're so happy and so grateful and blessed to have you all out here listening to us. Thank
yeah.
you.
And then if anybody has any questions or wants opinions or wants me, I've even had people say, "Hey, look at this sitter for me." I don't have a problem. Um, look, the other thing is most sitters have a website or something. They usually have pictures and stuff up there. Look on their website. See what that's the other thing I forgot to bring up, but look and see Facebook pages and stuff like that. That'll tell you a little bit about it. But also I have the enrichment item of the week. This is an empty
Oh, there
tissue
you go.
box. These
A
empty tissue
tissue box.
boxes, these empty Kleenex, these are the
Ooh.
Wegmans ones. Let me tell you, the dogs absolutely love them. But you can play the set games. You can put one treat in one and not in the other, and then hide them, and then let them find them. If they just A lot of dogs are scared of everything because, again, when they're puppies, we tell them no. So you wouldn't believe how many dogs are scared of paper bags, boxes, all kinds of stuff. Let them destroy them. Let them figure them out. This is great for your dog's learning mentality. They can get their nose right in here, and some dogs even get their heads caught in here. And like Archie knows how to bat him off, but my Chihuahua, he gets caught, and it's a funny thing to watch. I guess is what I say. I giggle a little, and then I take it off, and then they go back and do it again. So that means to me that they're not scared of it. They actually they did again. They must have had a good time. Um, so these things literally use them after you're done. Hide treats in
There
there.
you
The other
go.
thing is brain games. Oh, and one of my favorite game, and I get to learn a lot about a dog, is you put a treat in one and not the other, and then you point at it and you tell your dog to go to that one. Does your dog listen to you? Because they're watching you put the treat in and you point at it, they should go right in. Now, what happens if you put a treat in this, but point at the empty one? Does your dog trust you and go for the empty one? Or do they have enough brain power to say, that ain't right, and go because they saw it happen, go to this? That means your dog doesn't trust you that much. Not that it's a bad thing, but these are some fun brain games that you get to figure out a little bit more about your dog if they have street smarts or not. So I
Yeah.
find this very fun and curious. But if anybody wants any more games with empty tissue boxes, I got a whole bunch. But
There you
garbage,
go.
another dog's treasure. So go with it. Play with your empty Kleenex boxes. Put treats in them. Have fun with them. The dogs love them. That's my go-to. I do a lot with empty Kleenex boxes. They're everywhere in my house. So,
See, that's awesome. A great way to recycle them. Give them,
yep.
give them another purpose.
Yep.
See,
So.
guys, it's not all about spending money. She just gave you a great idea.
Pennies, not even, but yes. But so that's it for this week. Hopefully, everybody learned something. Let us know if you need anything, and we're out.
Sounds good. What are we doing for Thanksgiving next week? Do we got any